I think it's fair that people would, especially folks in the community here, would want to make sure that whoever the board is hiring is the right person for the job. I think all those kind of factors kind of culminating together made this a little more difficult than it needed to be, but I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I look forward to doing good things for the district.
Made this a little more difficult than it needed to be. Kind of sums it up. It's been a bit of a bumpy ride for the West Bonner County School District Board of Trustees and their appointments of their new superintendent. Former Democratic lawmaker, former candidate for state superintendent, former analyst for the Idaho Freedom Foundation. Yes, he wears a lot of hats, but Mr. Brandon Durst, he looks like he's going to be the next superintendent in West Bonner. And this will be the district's 5th superintendent in a little over a year. So things have been some sort of disarray for a while in West Bonner. So several weeks ago, when it first came up and it was known that Durst was up for the gig, the board voted 3-2 to hire him over the interim superintendent. Teachers and school administrator Susie Lucky, the community, raised their concerns about Durst's past and lack of qualifications for the job. Some say they really preferred Lucky. Now, there was even a raucous meeting where the board discussed Durst's contract, which was full of outbursts from the audience. 2 of the trustees walked out of that meeting, and it ended with the possibility of the offer to Durst being rescinded. That didn't happen. And this week, though, they did agree finally to a $100,000 2-year contract for Durst, where an emergency declaration had to be issued in order for him to obtain a provisional certificate so that he could legally be a superintendent, because technically under state code isn't qualified. Yesterday, we heard from Mr. Durst, and as you heard, he looks forward to proving that conservative principles will work in education, despite the opposition that he's heard so far. Today, we're going to hear from one of those people that were opposed to the hiring. West Bonner County trustee Margie Hall was one of the 2 trustees to vote against Durst's appointment. She's lived in Bonner County since 1981, and she's been on the school board since 2015, and her background is in community development, what she describes as bringing people together and not imposing policies from the top down, which is what she felt happened with the appointment. It felt very political, she said. It was too quick and not enough input from the community, in her opinion, something that she's seen a growing problem in West Bonner recently.
I think there's always, and what I've always been concerned about is that there's always been sort of a divide, and I keep working to try to fix that divide. In my ideal world, people would sit down around the table as stakeholders and we would hash things out civilly, not pushing something down, but working at the pace of your stakeholders. That's what I think is what I've seen in especially this last year, is that with good intention maybe, but we've gotten in front of the stakeholders, and it doesn't mean what's, one side or the other, but we've jumped ahead, and then we haven't been able to bring people along.
When Brandon Durst's name came up for this position, were you shocked? Did it come out of nowhere?
It did for me. When I saw it was a surprise to me. One of the things that I felt was that we expedited the process. That expedited process was not needed. It was extremely disruptive, and that didn't need to be.
You want to get out of here?
It would have been more prudent if we had Susie Lucky, kept her at a minimum as an interim superintendent for 2023, 2024, and conducted the full search at a better pace. We ran it too quickly. And so that was,
Why do you think that is?
I would say, unfortunately, I think there were probably some potential interest to have him, have it very close and very quickly done, without having, say, a concrete evidence to that fact. It was done rather quickly and a bit too quick. I do feel that there was definitely a time, where 3 board members, and I've said it on tape, and I've left a message with our prosecuting attorney, that 3 board members came with a script and 2 of us couldn't see it. So that does not build trust among your trustees.
Point of order! Okay, we're done.
You could hear in these meetings, and even outside these meetings and on social media, there's a lot of vocal opposition to him being appointed. Mm-hmm. Do you think then that is an example of the board listening to the community?
I think that's where I feel that we've gotten ahead of ourselves. I think that, there's a lot of hoops and a lot of pushback. And my feeling is my question is West Bonner County being used as an experiment or a laboratory to test certain ideas out on? Is that what we want to put our kids through and our community through? And I guess I would say I really don't want to do that.
Trustee Hall says that interim Superintendent Lucky would have been a better fit, in her opinion, for the district and would have qualified through an alternative authorization instead of a provisional one Durst needs. She understands the community and she would have given it some stability. Trustee Hall would have liked to have probably waited until November, she says, to start the search, even hire an outside firm to help, since they have, in her words, have twice tripped over themselves in hiring a superintendent. Durst's appointment still needs the approval of the State Board of Education.